A husband and wife found dead inside their Weinland Park home. No arrests, no suspects, and lots of questions. Thanks for joining us on 10 TV Plus. I'm Lacey Crisp. I've been covering this double homicide since the bodies of Spencer and Monique Tepe were found the morning of December 30th. Their two young children were also inside the house, unharmed. In a moment, I'll be joined by Jay Fulton, a retired Columbus Police homicide detective, who will give us his insights about the investigation and what detectives are searching for. Now, let's take a deeper dive into the timeline and search for answers in the Weinland Park murder mystery. In what looked like a picture-perfect wedding,
I vowed to do my best to always keep making you laugh because your smile is my favorite thing. I love you.
Spencer and Monique Tepe married inside their home nearly 5 years ago.
I knew that God was guiding me to my person, and that when I met him, it would be the most magical thing ever. And boy, is that an understatement.
Those smiles turned to tears Tuesday, December 30th.
This individual, Spencer, works with me, and he did not show up to work this morning, and we cannot get a hold of him or his family.
Dr. Tepe didn't show up for work when the Athens Dental Depot opened at 8 a.m. Then at 9:03, a call to 911.
We're very, very concerned because this is very out of character. And we can't get in touch with his wife, which is probably the more concerning thing.
Immediately after that call, police went to the house for a welfare check. But Columbus Police Chief Elaine Bryant said the officer went to the wrong address.
There was an officer that was dispatched to go to that well-being check. Unfortunately, he did respond to the wrong location initially. He went to the wrong location, and in him believing that he was at the right location, he did everything that he was supposed to do. Knocked on the doors, checked the backyard, did all those things, but it was not the right location.
In the next hour, 3 more calls into 911 from concerned coworkers and friends.
We haven't been able to get a hold of him for 3 hours. We are on site and we can hear kids.
Then at 10:04 a.m., a friend went into the Tepe home in the 1400 block of North 4th Street and saw Spencer's body lying next to the bed in an upstairs bedroom. At 10:07, police responded and also found the body of Monique Tepe. Both had been shot.
At this time, we have no indication that this is a murder-suicide.
Columbus police say there was no sign of forced entry and no weapon found inside the home.
I did not hear anything. I was asleep. And I will say that these houses are really well made, that a lot of the times I don't hear what's going on the outdoors.
Police say the couple's 2 children were inside, but not harmed. Family members say their daughter just turned 4 and their son is 17 months old.
The kids are doing very well. They're young enough to not fully understand the gravity of this situation.
According to a police report, crime scene analysts found spent 9mm casings. Brother-in-law Rob Misla says Spencer was fluent in Spanish and gave back through big brothers and big sisters. He was a huge Bengals and Buckeyes fan and says Monique was a loving, patient, and joyful mother with a background in childhood education.
What are you going to miss most about them?
A second. So their house in Columbus was just like a center for us to join them, and they were the glue of so many people in such a large community that they brought together. And they were just so loving and just so welcoming to people. And I have lifelong friends now that I never knew because of those 2 people.
In a statement from the couple's family, they wrote, "We're heartbroken beyond words. While no outcome will ever undo this loss, our family is committed to seeing this tragedy fully and fairly brought to justice and to honoring Spencer and Monique by protecting the future of the children they loved so deeply."
No answers will bring your family back, but would it help you sleep at night if you were given those answers?
Yeah, you're right. Nothing can ever bring them back, but getting the justice that Mo and Spencer so deserve, just finding whatever monster is capable of doing something like this I think it would make not just our family, a lot of people be able to feel a little bit safer.
Columbus police are focusing on the hours between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. on December 30th. Cameras litter the couple's Weinland Park neighborhood, including a city crime camera. Columbus police say the camera was working at the time, but won't say if it caught anything that will help the investigation. Columbus police released this video from the alleyway behind the Tepe's home of someone police describe as a person of interest. Do you believe that person who was in the video is the suspect, or just someone who was there at the time when the murders happened?
Evidence is going to give us that information as we continue to dig, as we continue to gather as much as we can. Right now, we know that they were there.
Flowers have now replaced crime scene tape outside the home where there was once so much love. Neighbors and family members are hoping for the justice the Tepes deserve with an arrest. This case has obviously grown nationwide, a lot of interest, not just here in Columbus, but across the country. So we wanted to have a conversation about what's going on in this case. I'm joined by Angela Ann and retired Columbus homicide detective Jay Fulton. 33 years with the division?
That's correct.
17 as a homicide detective.
That's correct.
So how much has this case interested you?
Well, it's certainly one that catches your attention. The location, the demographic, the professional nature of the victims, and the mystery. I mean, that's what catches the detective's attention more than anything. That this is a true puzzle. Sure. You know, every homicide's important, but the ones that come along like this are the most challenging.
And I'll tell you, Jay, as a former crime reporter and as a mom, though, what really got me, and I think so many of our viewers, is the fact that there were 2 children left unharmed. So if this was indeed a targeted attack, but you left these children unharmed, whoever the killer is has some kind of moral dilemma.
Absolutely. This it has all the earmarks of something that was targeted or personal, involving the adults here, but not a crime where the children were harmed.
Right.
They were left there, and once again, I agree. That's another aspect of the case that grabs the attention of the public, I think, and the national media as well.
The fact that this happened at night and there was no signs of forced entry, and as Angela mentioned, the children were in the house, not harmed. What does that tell you about the suspect?
Well, it's somebody known to it's in all likelihood, it should be somebody known to these victims. And, you know, you wouldn't expect the children to interact at those hours. I've raised 4, and they'd be in bed. Mm-hmm. So whoever gained access to this, and they are reporting that no force was used. They put that out. So we surmise that somebody had a key or a code or some way to access that residence. So that puts somebody likely in an inner circle
that they knew.
Yeah, it's not. It just doesn't point to a stranger. That type of scenario.
Can we talk about the one piece of supposed evidence, right? That at least we know of, the public, is the video, right? We know the video surveillance of that grainy hooded suspect walking through the alleyway. They first had a time frame of 12 to midnight to whatever hour,
9 a.m.
9 a.m. Then they shortened it. First of all, is this, in your opinion, when you guys put out stuff like that, you're fishing for info? Is this simply a person of interest, someone who happened to be walking by? Could this have been the suspect?
It could be either. And what you're doing
That's not
here,
a good answer for our viewers out there, right?
I'll elaborate.
Okay.
Yeah, so it could be either, but what you're trying to do is identify this person. So maybe the person sees himself on the news, himself or herself, and says, hey, I was coming home from a bar, I was coming home from work. If they're not the suspect, they're potentially a witness if they're putting him or her in that alley at that time. So maybe we just want to identify this person so we can talk to them and see what they know. That's one person that you knew that was up and moving in the vicinity in this timeline that the investigators have targeted, that being the 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. period. So there would be, you're trying to generate leads on who is this, get this person to come forward, and possibly as a witness.
Fill in the gaps.
Yeah, you know, what did you hear? Because they're reporting multiple gunshots in this residence. The homes are not that far apart. Well, gunshots used to be a fairly irregular occurrence in that particular area. I don't think that's the case so much anymore. So this is going to be something, even though it's inside, this might be something that somebody heard. So I don't know how they've established the 2 to 5 a.m. timeline. I don't think it was just based on the video. They've got to have other information that puts it in that 2 to 5, and that would generally be something that would be generated on the neighborhood canvas.
Yeah.
So this is the most information that CPD has given us, this person of interest who they're looking for. Do you think behind the scenes, detectives have a wealth of information about this case that they're just not letting out publicly? Or do you think they are still really wanting the public to come forward with information because they don't have it?
Well, I think both. And once again, I don't want to give the bad answer, but they have been working this case for 10, 12 days now. So some of the electronic stuff's going to start coming back to them. Geofencing on cell phones. Once again, the camera downloads. So there would be other avenues, other detectives working other aspects of the case. Technology is a great thing, and it's going to help to solve this case, but it takes time. So I believe that after 10 days, they have generated more information than is being put out for obvious reasons. They're not doing that to be disingenuous or anything. It's the integrity of the investigation is paramount, and because you can get online and see everybody's got a theory.
Sure.
And the detectives they can have a theory, but they have to back that theory with evidence. They just can't say this. So I do believe there's more information generated. The kind of when you do a deep dive into these people's lives. I mean, one of the key elements of any successful homicide investigation is the first person you have to learn all about is the victim. So that would be their digital history, social media history, any police involvement, any court involvement.
For the doctor, upset patients possibly, or past relationships,
financials, all of that.
Yeah, and that's stuff that takes time. First of all, it takes time to generate. A lot of this stuff is information that can only be generated through a search warrant issued by the courts, and then maybe it's Google, maybe it's Apple, but you serve those search warrants in New York City or Los Angeles or wherever they tell you to go, and so you chase your tail on that, and until you get that stuff on your desk and you start digging into it.
The puzzles keep coming in, but not right away.
They don't come in right away. So the initial stuff would be like that neighborhood canvas. What information were they able to glean from the neighbors? The second thing would be, what did we learn at the postmortem examination? What's the doctor telling us? Maybe that helped to develop that timeline that they're working with.
And can't you tell like the height of a suspect based on the trajectory of the bullet, perhaps?
That's one thing.
All of those things, right?
Were the victim stand? You can tell if the victim was standing. Or prone at the time of the injury. You can tell if one was standing and one was prone. You can tell, which shots on the victim with multiple shots, which were the fatal shots, and you can kind of get an idea of the order if that's the case. The trajectory through the body is different if somebody's moving as opposed to if it's a kind of a coup de grace type thing, standing over them and doing it. So all those things would. Was somebody in the house alerted when somebody made entry, or was it somebody, or were we both lying in bed? And all I've done is rolled out of bed and where I'm found by my coworkers.
Now, I spoke with Chief Bryant, and she said there were 4 911 calls made to CPD regarding concerns for the welfare of this couple. And the first officer who went for a welfare check went to the wrong address. And it wasn't until about an hour later when a friend made entry into that house and he saw Spencer's body upstairs in the bedroom. Was that a detriment to the investigation that hour lapse? Does it make a difference? The children were inside the whole time.
That's the most chilling aspect. That as far as the investigation goes, if nobody else was in and out of there either, that scene's not changed from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. The fact that the kids were in there, that's a little disturbing, but I don't think that's a mistake that's going to in any way alter the effectiveness of the investigation. I don't think anything was tainted by that. And it's just a simple, that was the way I understand that phone call came in. It came from the office in Athens to the dentist in Florida, to the police radio room. Did they even, I didn't heard the recording, did they even give the correct address? The officer probably went to the address that he was dispatched to. But I don't have any knowledge of that.
But you're saying that delaying that time really won't affect the integrity of the investigation in terms of the only thing they lost was an hour of time of getting into the house.
Yeah, that's exactly correct.
You said in your 17 years of working homicide, like only 4 of these have gone national for you back in the day. How much pressure, when you have a case like this, we're seeing the national attention every single day, does that affect your work, your ability to do what you guys need to do, and then the pressure it puts on you guys to really come out with something new, something more every day on a national level? Yeah,
it certainly does, because now instead of just having Channel 10 call our desk, we have CNN calling our desk. We may have a national Fox affiliate calling our desk. So you're answering a lot more phone calls from people that probably can't provide you any information, but are actually seeking information. That and media scrutiny affects all those big, tall buildings that city leaders work in downtown. And I seldom had to provide a daily update on any homicide I ever worked. I can count them on one hand.
On the flip side, could you use that to your advantage?
Well, I think you can get all the resources you need. I don't think anybody in the chain of command is going to tell you no when you're asking for help, whether it's maybe, the federal assets at doing stuff with these videos is far beyond anything that Columbus can do. I mean, so there are assets out there that can assist you in the investigation as a result of the profile of the case.
Now, with the national interest in this case, there's lots of internet sleuths who are coming up with their own ideas of what happened, and they're doing their own research and digging. Does that help, or does it hurt a case?
As an investigator, you're not going to pay any attention to that noise. That's for folks like my wife and people that love to speculate, and it's great. I'm not saying that every idea that comes up on these sleuth boards is a bad idea. I mean, but a lot of them aren't generated in the reality of what they already know. See, we don't know what they already know. And I think that by this point in the investigation, they're narrowing down things. And I think the most of it's going to come from that deep dive into these victims. It's, you're not really likely to be murdered in a situation like this by a stranger. Those are rare.
Yeah. Which leads me then to this question. It just came out today, the funeral information for the couple. And so if this was targeted, somebody they knew, how much of the fact that their funeral's coming up, people they know will be there, that police will also be there to possibly seek out more information?
They will be there. I'm certain that they will be there in some fashion.
What would you be looking for? Mannerisms, behaviors?
I think just observing. I mean, we all know what our normal reaction would be to a tragedy or we've experienced in our lives, be it the death of a parent or a child or a sibling. So we know how, but I don't think you can read too much into that. But I think it's just the overall, watch how people interact with one another. Because if this comes from this inner circle of somebody who would have access to your home without having to break in, that's pretty close. In my life, that's my children and my mother. I mean, those are the people that can come to my house and walk in when it's locked. So how these people interact, because these people that are going to be there, these loved ones, these family members, they're very important to this, is getting their and watching their reaction to the other people. Because they are not unlike these internet sleuths. They have lived with these people. If I was having a domestic problem, my mother would know about it. My kids might know about it. In this case, their coworkers or their friends, or, I mean, so they're going to have some ideas of their own. And it's very important for the detectives to follow up on that information, because that comes from, that you're not going to be able to talk to the victims, but you are going to be able to talk to the people that were closest to them.
Do you think CPD has identified a suspect and it's just a matter of building the case against that person before they can make an arrest, or do you think there's still all sorts of possibilities that they're looking at?
I wouldn't go that far yet. I don't want to put any more sense of urgency on these investigators than needs to be. I certainly believe that there's more information. There's always more information than what's being put out, and and to protect that integrity. But they've had time to do this deep dive, so it doesn't take that long to determine who might be an enemy or who might be a person that kind of stands out to you. And at that point, you find out everything you can about that person and try and geographically locate them.
Because I think neighbors and family members probably alike are all wondering, when is there going to be an arrest? It's been a week and a half. Is CPD going to make an arrest soon?
Yeah, I for those people's sake, I certainly hope so. For the investigators' sake, I hope so. It's a matter of, and we always say, it's the quality of the investigation is the paramount thing, not the speed of it. Because once that case is put together, you have one shot at the person or persons that are responsible for this, and you have to be right. I mean, you don't get to start over. So I'm sure they're busy gathering information. I'm sure they're busy following up on phone records, on license plate reader results, all the cameras. I mean, there's more cameras in that neighborhood now than there was the entire 33 years of my career. But it's certainly, there's a wealth of electronic information out there, and it just has to be gone through.
A lot to go through. I'm curious about this QR code. You know, it seems like it's what everybody does now, right? If you know something, scan this QR code. How much, I mean, technology is just part of our lives. How much do you guys actually ever really get from people sending in tips through these QR codes?
That never was a thing in my...
Back in the day,
No.
I know.
But what we did have was the Crime Stoppers tip line.
Sure. And that worked.
And it worked.
Yeah.
It is, and that, never discount that either. And I'm glad that I remembered that, because that Crime Stoppers generated a lot of good information.
Because it was anonymous.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then it was up to the detective to try and fit that information in. But I would imagine, Crime Stoppers helped me a lot, and it helped a lot of people a lot. So that's good information. It all has to be gone through. If you get 100 Crime Stoppers tips, you better go out and do 100. You better do 100 follow-ups on those. And that's another thing that drags. The investigation, where you want to have it narrow and focused and driven, and if they say they saw a red Pontiac in the alley around or anything, some detective somewhere has got a follow up on red Pontiacs in the area, whether it's through traffic cams or license plate readers or flock cams or whatever it is. You got to follow up on that. So that kind of, then you see the investigation getting drawn out. And it's when they develop that person of interest, be it this person or somebody else close to the family, that's when it starts to
funnel in.
Narrow in again. And that's a satisfying feeling for those investigators.
In all your years of doing this, and I can't imagine how difficult it is for detectives, because they have families that are so emotional that obviously want answers and they wanted it yesterday. What was the hardest for you whenever those families would call? I know some of them called every single day. to say, give me an update.
It's heart-rending. You want to be able to help everybody every time.
Sure.
And the reality of investigating crime is like homicides is that isn't always the realistic goal, because the people that oftentimes have information on homicides aren't willing to share that information with law enforcement for their own reasons. They don't trust us. They don't like us. They're going to take care of it themselves. They've heard all of the reasons. So, but the birthdays and the holidays that come, I used to get calls. I called them my mom's. I had several that I spoke to. It almost made it hard to retire, because I knew that this person who sent me Christmas cards, even though I wasn't able to bring her any closure or, so that was, I probably stuck around a year longer than I should, just because I didn't want to tell these people we weren't going to get there. And they never, there's no statute of limitations on this crime, but that's not what people want to hear. And everybody wants a quick resolution. And I think for the sake of the family and for the sake of the neighborhood and the city as a whole, that's the best. That's the best we can hope for. But it has to go. You have to go work all the way through the process. So, and these detectives are the hardest working. I have faith in them. There's a lot of great supervision in that chain of command, and the young detectives that got probably better ideas than I ever had, and they know how to work this technology better than we did. So they've got this team concept now where you've got maybe 6 sets of eyes on this case moving forward, or 8 sets of, I don't know how big the teams are, but
in your gut, what's going to crack this case?
It's going to be something that comes from the family. It's going to be something that comes from these people at the funeral. Somebody didn't feel right to them, and it's somebody that didn't feel right was in this circle, in this inner circle, and it's going to be a brother or a sister or an in-law that's going to remember a conversation they had with either one of these individuals at some point. When you walk into a room, if somebody gives you the creeps, there's probably a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have that in our little brain. So I think, and that is going to point the officers in the right direction. And then this mastery of the digital and the phones and the cameras and the flock cameras and the license plate, that's going to box that person in.
Thank you, Jay, for the conversation. We appreciate it. I'm sure we'll all be following this case, and we'll keep you updated on 10 TV and on 10 TV Plus as any development happens.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.